Around the Ozarks is now on your FM radio. Listen to Around the Ozarks mornings with Grace Gooley as I spotlight local people, stories, and podcasts, all while playing the country legends of the 90s and the hit makers of the 2000s. It's on the Ozarks' best country, 105.1 The Bull. It's time for Around the Ozarks sports scene, brought to you by Colton's Steakhouse, Thompson Sales, and Deadeye Gun and Pawn in Sparta. Here's your host, Scott Purrier.
Welcome into another edition of Around the Ozarks sports scene. I am Scott Purrier. As always, big thank you to you for tuning in as we talk sports, and it is that time of year. As Chris Parker is back with us, it means high school sports are back. Parker, the hardest working man in sports, he is the chief of the Ozone, Ozark Sports Zone, the KY3 product. Mr. Parker, welcome.
Yeah, glad to be here. Yep, we are Jamborees this Friday, and then we're full go next Thursday, actually. We have a football game, and other sports start on Thursday.
So you probably told your wife either this past Monday or the Monday before, I'll see you in mid-June, right? And then you get your vacation, and it's back to the grind again. Yeah,
that first Monday in August when previews start going up, that's kind of the end of summer vacation for me.
Absolutely. Well, we wanted to cover quite a bit of territory here. Fall sports is one of the busier seasons. They all are, but fall and spring are the ones where everybody's doing something and multiple somethings. And so we thought we'd start out and kind of get a look at who's going to be hot this fall, who the hot topics will be in the Ozark sports scene. Of course, our source for all that is the Ozone. Go there to get the previews, photo galleries, video recaps, a little bit of everything from high school sports in the Ozarks. And so I know we appreciate you guys for that as well. So let's start out with football, the king on Friday nights here in the Ozarks. And, we had you on the radio show last week talking some COC football. Central Ozark Conference with all of our large schools seems like a pretty good place to start. Is it a case this fall, you think, of the same old names up there at the top, the Nixas and Republics and Carthage and maybe some Glendale sneaking in there? Kind of give us your thoughts on the COC football race in a rundown.
I mean, again, we got one more year of COC East, COC West. So, yeah, on the West, that's the Joplin area. You're looking at, Carthage, Republic, Webb City. Republic has graduated a ton. But they also graduated a ton the year after they went to the state title game, and they still won a district title. And that's going to be kind of a theme you see with a couple of our teams here is Webb City was that way for a long time. It didn't matter if they're bringing back everybody or bringing back 10. They were going to be there because they are a program. And Republic is at that level now of they have the program running. And they've also got one of the best players in Southwest Missouri, in Kieran Govan, who is his future as a defensive back. That's where he's really stood out. But he's also going to find a lot of creative ways, Coach Ryan Cornelson, to get him touches on offense. And Carthage will bring back Landon West, one of the best running backs in the COC. So anytime Carthage has a running back like that, they've always got a chance. And then Webb City looks like they're prepared to kind of go compete at that top edge again. Neosha returns potentially the most experienced quarterback in that division, in Blaine Patterson. So there's a lot to like over there for them. Joplin's got a lot of new guys, but Coach Jasper out there, again, has been there long enough that, and it's a school big enough that with the now culture that they'll still be there. And then, on the East, it still looks like Nixa. Nixa lost a lot, and Coach John Perry says they lost 18 starters, but he says you want to lose 18 starters every year because that means your seniors are playing. So there's going to be that next line stepping up. Adam McKnight really looks like the real deal over there, and I think you're going to really kind of see him step out of the shadow, if you will, of a Jackson Cantwell and show that he is kind of the engine of that team this year, really making them go.
We'll find out a lot real quick because Carthage at Nixa in the opener on August 28th, a week from this Friday night. Of course, as you mentioned, this is Jamboree week coming up this Friday. Do you think teams will try to challenge Nixa like they have, but by just kind of running at them and trying to play ball control? And they've always been so explosive offensively. It seems like the way to stay in a game with Nixa, especially if you come to Nixa, is control the clock, run the ball 3 times, get your 3 yards at a time, 3 or 4, and just keep doing that. Do you anticipate that'll be, again, a season where Nix's defense is under the gun?
teams are going to do what they do against Nixa. I haven't seen anybody vastly change who they are to go against them. And so, yeah, when they're playing Carthage, when they're playing Republic, when they're playing Webb, you're going to see them running it. But when they're playing Glendale they're admittedly not big up front, and they've got two of the best receivers in the area and maybe the best duo in the state in Joel Rover and Trevor Heeman. So they're still going to try to throw it around. So in that game, you're going to see that secondary tested a little bit more. Will they go as the defense goes? Most likely, because again, whether it's Dylan Rivera, Jaden McCaster, they're always going to be able to run the ball. They have been able to run the ball. And with Adam McKnight running that offense, even though they've got mostly new receivers, except for Made, he's going to find them and hit them in the hands and give them a chance to be successful. So, yeah, a lot of times, as we've seen, as it gets down to it with Nixa, that defense is going to be kind of the question, and can they get the stops when necessary?
And I know last year you mentioned him, especially at the end of the year, quite a bit, but Jax Adams, this is kind of his turn now, isn't it, back there with the Ramon Green, McCaster, mm-hmm. Now Jax Adams. Do you think he's ready to step up and kind of get some of that load now?
I do. He's explosive, and he kind of showed his explosiveness in a different way last year. In the postseason run, they moved him over to defense, and he was making just big play after big play, living in that backfield. He seems to be kind of built for that moment. He's a guy who has done what the team has needed of him, and this year they need him to do what he likes to do the most, is run the ball there.
Is there a sleeper in the COC? You hinted earlier on a radio gig with Glendale being one of those teams. This Frank Tristan's third year with the program, second or third?
Third.
Is this kind of the year maybe they take a step forward with those receivers and that offense?
In that, when we talked in the preseason with Coach Tristan, that was kind of what we said, it's time to take that next step. And as you're looking in that side, because the COC West out in Joplin, that's got a really, like, a lot of teams that you could expect there. But right now in the East, everybody's chasing Nixa. In Lebanon, they've got to replace a lot. Ozark has a new coach, and so your question is, is Glendale the one? And Waynesville has a new coach there. Is Glendale the one that kind of steps up and tries to challenge them with so many new coaches on that side? Bill Voris, Kickapoo. So it's a bunch of new coaches over there. So, I mean, on paper, with stability within the program and consistency with the program, Glendale would look like the team that could take a shot. Now, do I still think there's a gap? Yes, I do. Nixa is two-time defending Class 6 runner-up for a reason. And I don't think no team in Southwest Missouri has ever been able to say they've made it to back-to-back Class 6 state championship games. So Nixa is the team until someone can step up to them.
What are the expectations of Kickapoo with Bill Voris moving over from Fairgrove? And you had talked about it. There will be a philosophy change offensively, a different approach with the Chiefs now.
Yeah, Bill Voris does that a lot of stuff out of the gun with the RPO looks, even though they still run the ball a lot. That is kind of a hallmark of what he does, and so it'll be a little bit of a change there. It's going to be fun to see kind of what he does with a Class 6 roster, because year after year at Fairgrove, he was very good about adjusting to whatever personnel they had at that point, and doing the things they needed to do with that roster that turns over more. At Class 6, like we talked about with these other teams, you can build more of that pipeline and have those older guys ready to step up. And who the quarterback is over there will be a big deal, because it always seems like Fairgrove had a 1,500, 2,000 yard passer. So I'll be most interested to see kind of how that develops with them and what path they go to at quarterback.
I think one of the fun leagues to follow here of late, because of the different sizes of schools, mm-hmm. and of course some of them former COC members, but the Ozark Mountain Conference. And we saw Rogersville take a step forward with Joel Wells coming in last year. Further expect another step for the Wildcats?
I do. They've got a little bit of a quarterback competition going, but they've got Joe Roche in the backfield, 1,600-yard running back, and then Gage Hale, state champion on the track, one of the fastest sprinters in the state, running on the outside and also playing in the secondary for him. So I got two great spots there to go with, but you can't overlook Branson and you can't overlook West Plains, the defending OMC co-champs. Branson's won it 2 years in a row. And as we talk about building programs, Aaron Hafner down there at Branson has built that ball control offense, and those kids, and he's got a quarterback who knows how to run that offense. And those are hard to prepare for when the offense knows exactly what they're doing. As Webb City was shown, as Republic has shown, as we've seen all throughout the area, Lamar, when they can run the ball like that, it's tough to stop them. So definitely don't overlook Branson.
And Marshfield with Nate Thomas now, a little new regime there, comes over from Kickapoo. You expect them to be competitive in that league as well?
They're bringing the flex bone, so we are going to see a complete change there as well. A little bit, everybody's looking around, seeing, and Coach Nate Thomas talked about how it's hard to prepare for it on a week. When he was at Kickapoo, anytime Lebanon came around, it was tough to get ready for that. So he's bringing that to Marshfield. So you're going to have another run first ball control offense. And typically those kind of take, because the reads are so intricate, and learning what you need to do and when you need to hand it off takes a little bit. So it may be early on, it may be a bit of a different look than by the end of the year once they're a little bit more comfortable with it.
Hillcrest out on the hill, high hopes out there.
Yeah, Keenan Gans, they don't have a ton back this year, and they actually were one of the teams that lost a game with Central dropping varsity football. So they don't start, I believe, until week 2 this year. So they got an extra week to prepare. But yeah, Coach Gaines has been there for a while now, and they're starting to kind of, I think, show some of that to be ready to be more competitive within that OMC.
Parkview competing as an independent, correct?
They are still an independent schedule. I believe next year they will switch into that new Ozark Conference schedule with the 5 other schools that have brought the Ozark Conference back. New head coach and Derek Daniels out there. They also have a quarterback competition going on here in the summer with the established guy who has been there, and then a new quarterback.
Derek Daniels, many people might not remember this, but a former Drury basketball Panther as part of their national championship era there with Alex Hall and Brandon Lockhart too, now coaching football at Parkview. Catholic, big step forward last year under Wes Page. Mid-Lakes Conference, correct there? Mm-hmm. And what are they looking at in terms of league competition?
As I'm looking at Catholic, at the Mid-Lakes, I look at Catholic, I look at Clever. Both teams that had incredible seasons. Clever, I believe their win total last season was one more than the combined win total from the first 5 years of the program. But I'll start with Catholic there. Yeah, Sam Boster's back, and they bring back a ton of talent from that team. Sam Boster kind of makes the team go from the backfield. Stop me if you've heard this before. They're going to look to run the ball and control the clock. That's the way they found their success. And then, Clever, they graduate a really good quarterback, but Brecken Vestal, who I believe is a junior this year, as a freshman, he started I believe it was either a state quarterfinal or state sectional baseball game on the mound. So he can throw the ball, and he's not afraid of the big moment. Trenton Allen is one of the names you're really going to start hearing a lot of. He's one of their receivers, and also is a great defender for them. So those two I'm really looking at kind of at the top of the Mid-Lakes, at least in the preseason.
Can't hit all the conferences, but two, I wanted to get your thoughts on the SCA out to the east, those schools, and then also the Big Eight. Big Eight with Seneca and Lamar and what they do every year. Kind of tell us about those two and what you expect.
Starting with the Big A, Seneca's there until they're not. Kind of like Nixa, you win the state title, and you've been as much as they have lately and made the deep runs. It is interesting they have a week 2 matchup this year instead of a week 9 matchup with Lamar. So we're going to learn early on a little bit about both those teams, and that Lamar team that, it's a wild that a down year for them was still a state quarterfinal appearance. Their numbers are back up. They've got 3 3-year starters, including Taryn Williams, who's a 2-way guy for them, all-state guy. So I like them to get back to where they were. Monette is very interesting to me. The 3rd year of the Mock offense. I alluded to this on your radio show when Mike Mock was at Glendale. The last time they won, I believe it was the last time they won a district title, they had that 3rd year starting quarterback, a kid who started as a sophomore, Alex Houston. That was the year he was setting all kind of records. So I'll be interested to see if that kind of follows suit in a class 4 that's, typically of all of our classes, more wide open. Once we get to district play, it's always one of the more fun districts because there's a lot of quality there. So that's one I'll be very interested in for sure. Lamar and Seneca at the top, definitely looking at them. Nevada brings back a running back, Will Jackson, but they don't bring it back a ton else. And then the SCA, you mentioned it last year. Mountain Grove a state quarterfinalist, Liberty a state semifinalist, and I think Thayer was also state semifinalist, one of the two, district champ for sure, and lost to Tipton. All three of those teams bring back a lot of quality. Mountain Grove lost their quarterback, Aiden Eastep, but they bring back a lot on the line, led by Malachi Williams, a guy Coach Dan Swafford says is a D1 type of guy. And that conference gives a lot of respect to upperclassmen, so it says a lot that Malachi Williams was named lineman of the year in the SCA as only a sophomore. A lot of respect for him. And they got two 1,000-yard backs back in Wood Curtis and Eli Golden. So they just got to replace that quarterback there in Aiden Eastep, which I think they got a couple of guys who could be there. Liberty graduated Parker Toon, but they bring back All-Stater Reed Toon, who is one of the best linebackers in the area. And Graham Toon, the quarterback, he took over about halfway last year as a freshman for his brother Parker. A lot of tunes I'm throwing at you here. And he threw for 1,500 yards. So they've got two really quality pieces there and a new head coach. And then finally, Thayer brings back 4 all-conference offensive linemen, 2 running backs who have rushed for over 700 yards last year. The big question for them is Class 1 or Class 2. Which side will they land on? Because they're right there on the edge. If they're in Class 1, they're still a contender big time. In Class 2, it's a little bit tougher because when you're the smallest enrollment, it's tough to compete with the Blair Oaks of the world and the Lamars of the world. And I'll finish it out, Southwest Conference. Marionville's been the dominant force in that conference for several years. In fact, they have not lost a regular season game to a Missouri school since 2019. They've not lost in conference this decade. But there is a lot of challengers stepping up this year with Ash Grove. They've been right there for a while. Pierce City's got a ton back. Dylan Clybaker is one of the better small school Class 1 type quarterbacks. And then they're going to get tested week 1 out of conference playing Clever. So we'll kind of see what Marionville is. They've been playing behind some of the guys like Cash Pomeroy and Briar Guerin. So that's kind of a rundown of what you're looking at those outlying conferences.
Absolutely. I think with our other sports in the fall, we'll kind of go big school, small school, and not get into conferences. But let's turn to volleyball. We've been a very productive volleyball area the last several years, many years here. What's it look like on the girls volleyball? I guess the large school picture first.
We'll start at the top. Yeah, Nixa Ozark. Ozark last year kind of got upset in that district tournament. And Nixa, it seems like they've been kind of going back and forth with Kickapoo every now and then. Cropping up. But it's between those three, that's been the power in Class 5. Ozark adds an all-state player from Stratford, Blair Boo. Her mom, Ashley, is now the athletic director out here at Ozark. And so so they've added an all-state from the Class 3 level, and she's going to fit right in there. So I like them up top there, still in the biggest class. West Plains, they won their first district title since 1993 in Class 4 last year. And Webb City is always there, it seems like. So last year we actually had 3 district champions in Class 4 with Marshfield, Webb City, and West Plains. Marshfield graduated a lot and has a new head coach leading the way. So we'll see what happens there. Stratford is being taken over by a new head coach, an alum of the program. Her maiden name's Chloe Rear. I've forgotten what her married name is, but she is the new head coach out there. She played Division I and then at Drury for a bit. In Mount Vernon made it to the Final Four last year. Zaya Schmutz, the daughter of the coach out there, all-stater, she's back, and they're looking to make that run back there. Another big question in that class is who's going to be Class 3 and 2 and 4. Logan Rogersville was the district champ over Stratford last year. Stratford has Ava Lane, a University of Kansas commit, who's also a star on the track. So Stratford's kind of been one of those close to the Class 2-3 line, and Rogersville's been close to that Class 3-4 line. So when the districts and classes come out, we could see a lot of different things. And then Mountain View Liberty, I think they've won 7 or 8 district titles in a row, and they're another one that straddles the Class 2-3 line. New Covenant made it in Class 2 last year. They've got an all-stater back. You really like what they've got coming back to potentially make a run. And again, I don't know if making it to the Final Four is enough to move them to Class 3 with the multiplier, but it might be. So that'll be a question to fall there. And then way out on the eastern edge of our viewing area, Winona, still expect them to be kind of the team in Class 1 locally.
What is the date that the district assignments come out?
I believe it's that first Friday of football. It used to be Jamboree Friday, but then I believe it got moved back because there's still some teams that weren't sure even entering Jamborees, kind of if they need, like last year, for example, Lincoln drops to 8-man at the last minute, which kind of threw a lot of things into flux.
And did they just post it on the Mission website, or do they send out something, or how does that work?
Be refreshing Friday morning at 7 a.m. Be refreshing it. That's when it goes up. And you'll at 6:58, it won't be there. And at 7:01, it is there. So you just got to be on the lookout for it. And that's when teams will find out their district fates. And
that's just the fall sports, correct?
Correct. Yeah. They wait for everybody because what they were running into in basketball as well, like, you would have districts some year, and this is why they took the basketball, we'll get into the weeds here, took the basketball tournament classes apart from each other, because some Class 1 districts would have 2 girls basketball teams and 8 for the boys. So for a little bit of equity and to even it all out, they wait and see who's going to actually have teams and who can play, and then they draw them from that.
More traffic than they ever get any other time during the year, right? That's 7 a.m. on the 28th of August, probably.
Oh, every Friday that they've gotten better, but it used to be like around 9:30. If you couldn't find a score and you wanted to find it on Misha, that set would be struggling.
Really?
Yeah, because every coaches are required to report to Misha by like 11 o'clock or midnight with their football scores each week.
Boys soccer season in the fall. One of the things I don't really know why they do it this way, but it seems like they play a lot of Friday night games in boys soccer, going head to head with football. Have you ever asked anybody why that's the case?
You see some, but they also play a lot of their non-conference stuff. So when they go to find, so a lot of times that's going to be the big schools playing St. Louis schools, Columbia schools, Kansas City schools. So a Kansas City school will come down here and get a game on Saturday with Glendale, or on Friday with Glendale, and 2 games on Saturday with Nixon Kickapoo. So that's what you see a lot there. Yeah, so they and then the reverse is true. They'll go up to Glendale, the big schools will go up to Columbia and Rockbridge and Hickman, Rockbridge, and Capital City kind of thing.
Who are we looking at in boys soccer as the local powers?
Yeah, Glendale, they ran into Rockhurst last year, as our teams have been for a while. Rockhurst has been a nationally ranked power. They're that Webb City football style of, until someone can consistently beat them in the postseason, they're the team to beat. Carthage is still really good. They're one of the most skilled teams in the area. We don't talk about them as much because, first, they're in Joplin area, but also their district is the Rockhurst district. So they've been really good, one of the better teams in Southwest Missouri, but then they get sent up to that the Kansas City meat grinder up there where Rockhurst is always waiting, and it's no fault of their own. You're just running up against a team that is legitimately one of the best in the entire country, not just the state. And so Class 3 will look a little different this year. Carl Junction was our local representative last year, but Springfield Catholic is a state champion. They're moving up. They bring back a few All-Staters, and they have a new head coach as Tom Davidson retired. So they'll move up, opening that spot up in Class 2 potentially for a Logan Rogersville, which has been a consistent winner of late, or even Monette, which has had some success in the last 8 to 10 years. So those are kind of what you're looking at there. And in Class 1, it really depends on where like Greenwood and New Covenant kind of land, because they bounce back and forth between Class 1 and 2. But Lakeway is always there for the boys and the girls. They're a really, really nice little soccer power up there.
I know you've got several favorite sports. Politically correct, you love them all, but cross country in the fall is one of those. It's a lot of fun to watch and cover and see the teams, how they develop. Who are we looking at in area cross country as the teams to watch?
Cross country was in a really good place last year. Lots of champions for us, and several of them are back. Kellen Robertson from School of the Ozarks and Wyatt Cliver from El Dorado Springs, both defending individual state champions in classes 1 and 2 respectively, both back this year. Kyle Hathcock, he finished out of Catholic. He finished 4th in Class 3. That was a Class 1 by Hollister Senry Mendoza, so he looks to be a favorite there in Class 3. But the top is West Plains, the West Plains boys. It's a theme of the traditional powers here. And the West Plains boys are the defending Class 4 state champs, and they bring back 6 of their top 7 runners from a state championship team. And you just know that there's a couple kids on JV ready to take a step up and challenge for a spot. So West Plains is going to be pushing not for just one of the best teams in Southwest Missouri, but best teams in the state regardless of class. And the Kickapoo boys, they returned 4 of their top 7 from a 5th place team. And on the girls' side, School of the Ozarks and Dora went 1-2 in Class 1 as teams. School of the Ozarks is going to have to move up due to the multiplier. So Dora, they, as a Class 1 school, return all 6 of their runners. So they look really poised to make that run. Up in Class 3, Katrina Cantwell and Lila Huffman of Fairgrove and Houston, they were top 7 in Class 3. And then the West Plains girls, they were state runner-up as a team, and they returned Cabrin Gunter, who was state runner-up as an individual. In Class 5, we'll be looking for some new runners to step up after Ava Dahl from Joplin broke through and won a state championship as an individual in the state's largest class. It was the first for Southwest Missouri since, I believe, the 90s.
Wow.
And so she was really a kind of a shock to the state for a Southwest Missouri runner to win at the biggest class like that.
You know, when I was covering preps back in the 80s, it was Joe Bill Dixon, that West Plains cross-country program, and it carried on the track. Have they ever been down? I mean, who has carried on the mantle? Because I think Joe Bill's son coached for a while too, didn't he? And I think Scott Womack was always involved with track. Who is it now that's continuing on this tradition?
Gunter's her last name. Her first name's escaping me right now, but she's she ran under Joe Bill Dixon. And no, they don't have down years. I think they've made something like 40 consecutive on the boys' side, 40 consecutive state meets. It's the craziest postseason streak in Missouri high school sports. You can look at Webb City's district football championship streak, but it's something crazy, like 40 years in a row. West Plains boys have been represented as a team at the state tournament, at the state meet. So no, at least on the boys' side, they have not had a down year ever, pretty much.
That's unreal. Yeah.
A down year for them is a
they still wear the candy striped shorts?
They do. Those are still their hallmark.
Absolutely. Softball. And again, we have to explain it every year. There are teams that play in the fall, teams that play in the spring. What is the defining line for the two, and who do we expect to be contenders for state titles this fall?
The difference between fall and spring is you cannot be big schools play in the fall. Small schools can play in the spring. So big schools have no choice, have to play in the fall. Small schools can pick, and there is an enrollment cutoff, and it's somewhere around like the Mount Vernon Central Park Hills size, I believe. I don't know the exact number on it, but just like their 8-man, not any, like Nixa couldn't decide to play 8-man football. Nixa can't decide to play spring softball. So that's the cutoff. So you've lost a lot of Class 1 schools, but I will say what it has done is added opportunities for female athletes at small schools in the area in the form of volleyball. Seymour, Gainesville, Mansfield, most of those Summit Conference teams have switched to a spring softball schedule and added volleyball back for the first time ever or the first time since the 70s or 80s. So it has created more opportunities for female athletes in Southwest Missouri, which is a great thing to see. As for looking forward to this year, at the top end there, Ozark Nixa Republic, kind of the same deal. Republic has a new head coach, but a familiar name, Denny McHenry, is taking over as head coach there at Republic. And then Kickapoo, they've added a couple of really good softball players and Fairgrove transfers. Bill Voris's daughters, and Audrey Voris, and his other daughter's name's escaping me here, but they're both going to play a spring softball season followed immediately by a fall softball season. So no break for them. And we'll see what impact they make there. Class 4 is very interesting to me. We have Marshfield with a ton back and Willard both having a ton back. Willard is one of those that straddles that Class 4-5 line. If they go up to Class 5, they might be the favorite locally. Paxton Piper is one of the best power hitters in the state, along with Nix's Maya Johnson, both incredible power hitters. But Marshfield has one of the top pitchers around in Kendall Dolan, and they won a district title and lost to eventual state champion Father Tolton Catholic in the playoffs last year. And then you drop down to Class 3. Cassville was our representative at the Final Four last year in Class 3. In Class 1, Halfway and Wheatland both have a bunch back. The Wheatland girls got a lot of extra reps. I think 3 or 4 of their girls played both softball and on the baseball team last year. So now they're switched back to softball mode. So you're still probably looking at something in that Polk County League. Both Halfway and Wheatland were district champions last year. But someone over that Polk County League as are kind of our favorites there in Class 1.
And I think all we have left are girls golf and girls tennis maybe for the fall. I know swimming and diving doesn't start for a while, right?
It is it does get going in the fall. But to be honest, I haven't researched a ton with it yet. With golf, Riley Allred, kind of a state champ that we don't talk about a ton, for some reason, because she's a 3-time defending state champion at the Class 1 golf level. So being able to do 4 times is a very rare thing in any sport, especially in a sport like golf where, you can just have one bad day and there goes your streak. So she's going to be one to really watch. Emily Schubert out of Mount Vernon, she was 4th place in Class 2. She transfers that all-state softball swing well to the golf course, it looks like. And then Phoebe Lynn from Central, she was a Class 3 4th place finisher. In Catholic, they were the state runner-up in Class 4 last year, graduated quite a bit. Ava Tiedemann's their top returner as a 15th place finisher in Class 4. So be interested to see kind of who steps up next at Springfield Catholic there, because they always seem to have something ready.
And girls tennis, do we have anything?
I haven't dug into that quite yet, to be honest with you yet.
We've been a little light there, haven't we, in the past?
Yeah, in the last few years, it's tough to. Bolivar's had a lot of success at the Class 1 level since they went from 2 classes to 3 classes. Bolivar's found a lot of success there in that smallest class after a bunch of the private schools and the Kansas City and St. Louis schools got moved up. So they'll probably continue to be good as they have been. Would be my assumption, because they've always been there. They've kind of been our consistent best team.
Little shout out to Paige Bowman. It seems odd not to talk about her, after 3 consecutive state championships in golf at Glendale. Now she's at Mizzou playing. She was about a 4th of the size of Jackson Cantwell, but just as big in her sport there as well, too. So, well, Parker, I think we covered in about 30 minutes every sport that we've got in the Ozarks. The story we didn't touch on at the top was, thank God that we don't have the chaos of our state government taking over Misha. That was a little bit of a scare back in the winter and early spring. We survived that one, didn't we?
Yeah, I was on record with you. I thought cooler heads would prevail, and they always did, and they always were going to once they realized what it entailed. There is one other thing I want to point out that we haven't talked about that's back on football, but Crane is playing a JV schedule this year, and they should be on track to be on a varsity schedule probably after this cycle, I would guess, because we're in the first year of a scheduling cycle. So there's a new football team, new 11-man football team coming online in Crane before too long.
They have that many boys to play 11-man. Crane.
Yeah, we went out. They've been building it up through for Tiny Mites through their middle school, and now I was noticing I was looking at the schedule, and I noticed they've got 4 or 5 JV games this year. So I think the last 11-man football program that came online new was Clever, and we're going on 6-7 years ago for that. So it'll be nice to kind of see how this works for them. And there's a lot of those schools, especially like in the Summit Conference, the Hartvilles, the Lickings, that are Class 2 and 3 basketball schools that you think maybe they could do football if they wanted to. So it'd be good to see Crane, a traditional basketball baseball power, step out onto that football field here in a couple of years.
And anything new on Springfield Central? Do they have enough to play a JV schedule this year?
As far as I know, as far as I understand, they do. That was actually the schedule I was looking at. Central and Crane have a JV game scheduled with each other, so that's why it jumped out. Hopping off people's schedules, because I believe this is the start of a new cycle, because we have a lot of interesting week 1 matchups, like Carl Junction and Stratford are playing each other. Week 2, you'll probably appreciate this from a historic standpoint, West Plains and Mountain Grove are playing each other. So you got old SCA rivals who haven't played each other since the 90s. That's going to be a highlight game for us, because there's a lot of intrigue to that. But back to the point with Central, you've hopped off of schedules, and it might be tough to get back on the schedules in this cycle. So I'm interested to see kind of what they decide to do going forward next year with the way football scheduling works.
We talked about in the spring, the emergence of flag football for the girls. Have you heard any more schools jumping on board for this coming school year? And same thing with boys volleyball. We've always been puzzled that there haven't been more other than Nixa really in our area that have tried that. Have you heard anything more in either case?
I have not. Flag football has, and I think will continue to take off more than boys volleyball in the area. And the people at Misha have been on record saying that girls flag football is going to be the next sponsored sport. The next new sport Michigan gets is that, and before 2030, probably way sooner than that, probably 2028. I think some of the numbers I've heard of, because it's growing and it's growing fast. Because we've got several, like Marshfield and Nix are both already doing it. As for volleyball, yeah, I'm mystified by it because it's not like a lacrosse where you need new lines on the turf football field to play. You've already got the volleyball court. You've already got the lines. You raise the net up a little bit. But no, it just hasn't been adopted very well in Southwest Missouri.
And I know some Nixa kids have earned scholarships out of it too, gone on to play college volleyball on the boys' side too as well. He is Chris Parker, the OzarksSportsZone.com. Your one stop for all things scores, videos, features. How many games do you try to get out to on a Friday night in football? What's the record for the Ozone?
Oh, the record. Well, that had been set way back when we had 11 people. There was one year where we had all but like 2 week 1 games that involved 2 local teams. So a lot of times we're not going to cover. We use our resources when it's 2 locals playing each other, 2 Southwest Missouris. But, week 1, I ideally between photos, recaps, TV side video, and photo galleries, I'm going to aim to get to 20 to 25 in some form.
Wow. And along with 200 previews for fall sports, somewhere in that range?
Yeah, we're at as of this morning, I was at 155 posted, and I still got quite a few more left. So got a little bit of time left to get those up there, but it takes time to make a graph, write them, edit them, make a graphic, and get them posted.
I grew up in a time when the Labor Day was the Jerry Lewis Telethon. You may not remember that, but they had a tote board where they'd show the numbers, the update on what they raised and all that. I think we need a live tote board on the Ozone website of how many previews have gone up already for the year and little fanfare music behind it. That'd be kind of fun, but that's just me, But Parker, I always appreciate you. Appreciate your hit with us on Monday mornings at 7:30 each week on 102.1 The One. Enjoy some downtime here before you get back to writing some more previews here in the next 3 minutes or so, okay?
Appreciate it, Scott.
You bet. Thank you, Chris. Chris Parker, the head honcho of the Ozone. We say it kiddingly, but we're not kidding. The hardest working man in local sports. The guy does a phenomenal job of running a major operation. And we've talked about on our radio show that nobody else in the state does what the Ozone does in terms of taking high school sports, making it the key entity and devoting an entire website and team to that. And of course, they have their Ozone show they do on Friday nights. Very well done as well. So we appreciate Chris Parker and the folks at OzarksSportsZone.com. Also appreciate our sponsors. Big thank you to Thompson Sales, located at 1555 East Independence in South Springfield. Thompson Boys have been in business since 1919. They're your home for the largest selection of Cadillac, Buick, and GMC cars and trucks. They've got new and used. They've got lease cars. We just signed on a new lease for my wife, getting a lovely new Buick from our friends at Thompson's, and great service department as well. They've got a huge new, I don't know what the quick change oil loop, for lack of a better term, where you can go in, tire work, oil changes, whatever. It's huge. It's right there at the front right of their lot. If you're looking out of the dealership, go by and check that out. I got in and out real quick with my other Thompson's vehicle while we were actually shopping for the other one. So they do a great job with that. But I've been buying from Thompson since the early 1980s when I got in town. All started with Len Thompson, his late brother George, just the way they treated people. And that continues on now with Miles and Tyler. Leonard's still around. We were there Saturday finishing up that deal, and Len Thompson right there, as he always has been, kind of overseeing the showroom there, making sure everybody was doing things right. But we appreciate Thompson Sales, again, 1555 East Independence in South Springfield. Also, big thanks to our friend Thomas Orr and Colton Steakhouse of Springfield, just down the street from Thompson's. There at 2020 East Independence. You'll have trouble finding a better meal than Colton Steakhouse in town, whether it's barbecue, steaks. They got great burgers. You get the hot rolls and the cinnamon butter, the fresh peanuts. It's all good stuff at Colton's. Again, 2020 East Independence in Springfield. Tell Thomas and his staff we sent you. And finally, Dead Eye Gun in Sparta. You can check out their store at 7483 Main Street in Sparta. Also visit deadeyegunsupply.com. Check out their great selection of pistols, rifles, hunting gear, target practice, whatever you need from Deadeye Gun. They've got it. Big thanks to Jonathan and his staff for their sponsorship. Hunting season for all of our Ozarkers just around the corner. Get into Deadeye Gun or visit their website to see what you need for this year's big trip there. So, again, big thanks to Chris Parker taking time. I think we may have set another record with most names mentioned in a single 35-minute podcast, but I always appreciate his help with that and appreciate you guys, the listeners. We will see you next week on Around the Ozarks Sports Scene.